Okay, so again, our topic for this evening is child and adolescent development, and we'll also cover inclusive education or special education, and also research, a little of research. No, but I think for tonight, it's more on child and ado, and also SPED. Okay, but before that, I think it's just right no, to ask for our Lord's guidance and help us, especially that the board exam is very very near. No, okay, so let us all together put ourselves in the most holy presence of our Lord, and in the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty and ever living God, fountain of all knowledge, you created me to know you, to love you, and to serve you. I heartily thank you for bringing me to this grace-filled moment where all I have studied and prepared for shall be put to the test. As I take the licensure exam, Lord, send forth your spirit. Clear my thoughts from all distractions. Give me clear memory. Relax my mind and body. I offer this licensure exam to your greater glory, for I know very well that whatever comes out of this, it is all your grace. May the darkness of sin and the night of unbelief vanish before the light of the word and the spirit of grace, and may the heart of Jesus live in the hearts of all. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay. So by the way, I will be giving you a copy of my PowerPoint, including this prayer. No, baka this will come in handy during the board exam. No, by the time you take the board exam. Okay, so I miss you all, but I think we'll be having two sessions, no, for this cut. So today and 2 days from now. So I think that's Friday for the assessment. So, but for tonight, focus muna tayo sa child and adolescent development. Okay, so I believe you were already given with this test, no, with all these items. So you already know these test items. But what we'll be doing tonight is to rationalize, to get to know the correct answer and explain also why is that option become is our answer key. Okay, see, yeah. So please, let's proceed to item 35. Oh, I miss you also, Angelique, no, Laron. Okay. 35, let me read. Based on Erickson's views, which affirmation does not belong to the stage of initiative versus guilt? A, people can be trusted. B, in difficulty, I will not give up. C, I feel what happens to me is the result of what I have done. And D, I am prepared to take risk. All right. Felicia answered A. Okay. Laika answered A. Chini Dash, Mamanta, Rachel, Nisi. Okay, so Sharon, I think all of you no answered A, and I'm not so sure, but I guess in the previous monthly ayuda natin no session, we were able to cover this question. I believe no, parang sobrang familiar that no, I feel like it's a deja vu no that we have already discussed this one. So the answer is obviously A. People can be trusted. All right. Now, just a recap kasi this is cut already, no? So kailangan natin ng deepening talaga of all these items, no? So just a recap, we have Erickson's psychosocial development theory that has 8 stages. And the 8 stages represent the stages of development. No? Like for infancy, we have trust versus mistrust. For uh, parang natatabunan siya. Okay, for early childhood, we have autonomy versus shame and doubt. Then we also have preschool, initiative versus guilt, and so on. So as you can see, initiative versus guilt is belonging to the preschool age. No? So before papasok sa regular schooling na grade 1 of preschool. No? So 3 to 5 years old. All right. Now, the question is asking about all of the following are initiative versus guilt except for one. No? Saan dyan ang hindi initiative versus guilt? Now, usually, ang napapansin lang namin no, from the Met in the past board exams, no, diba, almost every year there are 2 batches no, for the board exam for the now left. And then, kapag may lumalabas na parang itong question, kinukuha nila dun sa questionnaire, no, the Erickson self-assessment no, questionnaire. Okay, and I believe for those who were with us in the regular review session, you receive a copy of that Erickson's self-assessment questionnaire. And if you look at that part under initiative versus guilt, andyan yun, no, yung People can be trusted. Of course, it's not there because people can be trusted. Trust is all about the first stage, which is trust versus mistrust. Pero the B's, option B, C, and D, makikita natin dito sa questionnaire mismo, no? Like letter B. If you look at number 15, no? When I have difficulty in getting something right, I give up, no? Because it's more of guilt, no? So you give up, no? Ano ba yung initiative? Diba initiative is like um kusa, no? Or like taking the to initiate, right? To lead, no? To be able to control the situation, yung initiative, all right? So when I have difficulty in getting something right, it's more of the side of the guilt, no? So belonging pa rin yan, no? Sa initiative versus guilt. Then I feel what happens to me is the result of what I have done, no? So yeah, no, nakita natin dyan sa number 14, no? So yan yung option C kanina. Option D naman dun sa tanong, I am prepared to take risk to get what I want, no? So kitang-kita natin dito, no, na yung letter A lang yung hindi. And of course, if kahit na hindi mo alam tong questionnaire na ito, no, medyo obvious din, no, kasi letter A, the word trusted itself, alam na natin na dyan, yan, it already belongs to the first stage, no, trust versus mistrust. Pero, this is my advice, no, minsan kasi they would take the question and the options from other stages. All right? Minsan gagamitin nila itong halimbawa for autonomy versus shame and doubt, no? Sasabihin nila which among the statements belong to autonomy versus shame and doubt. No? So you have to at least familiarize, you know, this Erickson self-assessment questionnaire so that you will have higher chance of getting the correct answer. Okay? Sige, punta na tayo sa item 37. This refers to set of facts, concepts, principles that describe the underlying mechanism that regulates human learning, development, and behavior. All right, Angelique answered letter C. Very good. Nisa, Sheriel, okay. Laika, Felicia, Mayan, okay. Rebens, Charmaine, you. All right. So, wow, ang tatalino naman ng mga estudyante natin ngayon, no? Parang wala pang incorrect answer, no? You're right. No, the answer is letter C, theories. Okay. Now the question is, do you still recall or can you still remember the difference between facts, concepts, theories, hypotheses, laws, and so on? No? So, ano kasi yan? These are some of the terms defined by Omrod in 2000. 2000 ba tama ba? Yeah, Omrod in 2000. It has to do with the cognitive because in education, when we prepare, when we develop lesson plans, no, diba? We always have to look after, even in the field of child and adolescent development, we always look after the three domains, no, of development, the cognitive aspect, the psychomotor, no, or the physical, biological, and so is the affective or the social emotional aspect, no. So we have always that three domains. All right. Now, for cognitive, though, sabi ni Omrod, there are these are the terms, no, that need to be clarified, no, and defined. So ito yung mga definition niya. So in fact, may principle pa nga na hindi, no, na hindi na mention dun sa tanong or sa option, no. So, ano ba yung kaibahan ng fact, concept, principle, hypothesis? So, iisa-isahin natin to, no? So, we have fact. Fact is an idea or action that can be verified. Names and dates of important activities, no? Like population of the Philippines. No? And sometimes, facts may change, right? Halimbawa, in 2000, early 2000, tinanggal si Pluto. Pluto as one of the 9 planets in the solar system, right? But then in sometime around 2009 or 2010, Pluto went back to its course, no, sa kanyang tawag yung orbit, sa kanyang orbit. Before in 2010 nawala siya sa kanyang orbit, no, and then sobrang layo na niya sa parang outside na siya of solar system. So yung mga astronomers, yung mga expert dun sa sa space, yung mga ganyan, they announced na wala na si Pluto as nine of the planets. No? But then, again, kasi bumalik si Pluto at nag-follow ulit sa kanyang orbit, na-reinstate, right? So, facts may change, all right? But then again, the with fact, how we define it, it's like an idea or an action or an event that can be verified. No? Kaya fact siya, all right? Concept naman is a categorization of events, places, people, and ideas. Example, the concept of furniture. No? So furniture is a category which includes ano ba, chairs, tables, beds, desks. All of these are objects, right? Classified under the concept furniture. Okay? So the concept swim, no? Encompasses different actions, breaststroke, no, butterfly, and a backstroke, and more. So that's concept. Principle, on the other hand, pertains to relationships between and among facts and concepts. No? So again, fact is just a single idea, an action that can be verified. Concept naman is like a categorization, a classification. Principle naman is putting relationship, looking at the relationship between and among facts and concepts. All right. So these are arrived at when similar studies yield similar results. Like the number of children in the family is related to the average scores on national standard tests. Okay, so parang ganun like sa research, like uh, uh, high performance in high school, junior high, and senior high would lead to high performance also in college. No? So, mga ganyan, no? So, principle, yeah. No? In fact, in math also and in science, there are a lot of principles also established. Okay? Hypothesis, as you have known ever since, no? It's educated guess. Okay? About those principles or relationships. No? So you say, even if you have not verified yet whether there is indeed relationship or not, but then you just guess. You just guess that you say, I think age is a factor when it comes to technological competency. So the younger you are, the better you are when it comes to the use of technology or operating gadgets or whatever. So you haven't done a research yet, but then you just guess. No? It's a guess. So we call it hypotheses. Okay. Now, another is the theory. So, eto na yun, no? So, sabi dito, according to Omrod of 2000, theories are set of facts, concepts, and principles that describe possible underlying and observable mechanisms that regulate human learning, development, and behavior. They explain why these principles are true. Example, principle Piaget's theory on cognitive development, Kohlberg's theory on moral development, and so on. So they explain, the theory explained some principles. Like one of the principles of learning is when we create instructional materials, we have to make sure that it's appropriate to the mental or cognitive level of the kids. So it's a principle, principle of appropriateness. That what your lesson, instructional materials, the exams you give has to be appropriate to the level of the child's cognitive level of the child. Now, who supports that principle? So who explains, who supports that principle? We can look into Piaget, Piaget's theory on cognitive development. So, sir, pwede po my presentation mo? Yes. Again, Jazz, as explained earlier, I will give my PowerPoint presentation. Later on, I'll upload it in the chat box. Okay. And then we have loss. So again, we know already what fact is. Fact. Then there's concept. Then there's principle. And now we have theories, hypotheses, theories, and now we have laws. Okay. So laws are firmly established, thoroughly tested principle or theory. Okay. So when the theory has been thoroughly or established and tested, na talagang kahit balik-balik naman, yun pa rin, it remains to be true. It remains to be acceptable. magiging law na yan. Halimbawa, the law of gravity. May law of gravity ba sa example? Law of effect, law of conservation of matter energy, law of supply and demand. No, yan. No? Hindi na talaga yan mababago kasi it started with a theory, but then after so many times that it was verified, tested, no, na-establish na siya, nagiging law na siya. Okay? So, ayan, that is law. All right, so I hope that was easy. Now, let me jump to number 42, and 42 is actually related to what we just explained. This refers to established and thoroughly tested theories and principles. So, anong sagot natin dito? No, Angelique, Mayan, tama, D. Okay. Or Dwight, Laika, Chini, D. So, of course, no, sobrang obvious na. No? Obvious na po nito kasi mention lang natin, no, laws, sabi natin ito, laws are firmly established, thoroughly tested principle or theory. Okay? So the correct answer, tama, it's letter D, no? Laws. All right. Let's proceed to next question, 39. Let's proceed to number 39. Which is not an example of spatial activity? A, visualization, B, concept mapping, C, affective dimension, D, art projects. Okay? So, may nagsagot na, no, letter C daw. Meron pa ba? Chini, Rachel, okay, C, Felicia, Jennifer, Jermaine, okay, Margie, Laika, Rita, okay. Letter C daw. Okay. So, I guess this is also a very easy question. And you are right. The answer is affective dimension. Paano naging effective dimension ng ating sagot? Okay? So, of course, we have to understand, we have to go back to the 8 multiple intelligences of Howard Gardner. So, originally, 8 lang talaga yan. Pero nadagdagan ng isa na no, nadagdag si existentialist, right? In 2000, parang 2007. No? So, ito po yung basic na 8. So, kita natin naturalist, spatial, linguistic, interpersonal, bodily kinesthetic, musical, logical, mathematical, and interpersonal. Now, yung tanong kasi, saan dito ang hindi visual spatial? Right? So, ano ba yung spatial or visual spatial intelligence? It is how we visualize. All right? It's more on our side, no, how we picture out things. So if you are into arts, no, like arts, be it painting or graphic arts or photography, all right, that has to do more on the spatial yan, visual spatial yan. Okay. Now, let's define visual spatial. All right. So visual spatial learning style, according to Howard Gardner, is, or also known as visual spatial intelligence, refers to a person's ability to perceive, analyze, and understand visual information in the world around them. Essentially, they can picture concepts with their mind's eye. Okay? So they better understand if nasa graphical form siya. Like, for example, instead of reading directions, mas naiintindihan ng mga visually spatially intelligent people, okay, kung merong maps like Google Maps or pwede rin yung actual no, physical map. Okay, mas madali nang maiintindihan yung direction, no? If visual form, okay? So, letter A, visualization. So, this is what I call no, anatomy. No, trying to analyze option per option to see, no, to find out alin ba dito ang pwede nating ma-eliminate at alin dito ang pwede, no, most likely to be the answer, the correct answer. Okay? So, the word visualization, of course, that has to do with picturing out, no, visualize. So, obviously, it has to do with visual spatial intelligence. Concept mapping. Are you familiar with concept mapping? When the teacher, for example, give you a lecture, all right, an input about, halimbawa, food web, all right, or water cycle, right? Then the teacher would ask you, make a concept map for all about water cycle. So you have the main idea at the center, all right, of a paper. No, it can be bond paper, or if kailangan i-present sa class, it has to be like Manila paper or cartolina, no, ganyan kalaki. The main idea, tapos merong mga offshoots, no, mga magba-branch out yan, no. So ano ba yung mga sub ideas, tapos ano ba yung mga little ideas under those sub ideas or subheadings, no? You now create a concept map, no, concept mapping. Others have other you call it mind mapping, no, meron ding other versions, mind mapping, and many others, no, we call them graphic organizers. Still, it's visual spatial, right? Then if you look at art projects, of course it has to do with art, no, it has to with your, you have to use your eyes to see, to appreciate art, right? So visual spatial, yeah. Pero when you say affective dimension, and affective has to do with your social emotional, ayan na, no? Emotional. And remember, emotional has to do with you being human, no? So it's either intrapersonal, no? The emotional aspect, no? Your emotion, no, the social emotional health, no, or your para bang your relationship to yourself, ayan, intrapersonal, or your relationship towards others, no? And 'di ba, when you build relationship with others, it also entails emotion, no? The affective dimension, tama? So affective dimension is closely related to intra and interpersonal, but not visual spatial, no? So again, which of the following is not spatial, related to spatial intelligence, or it's not spatial activity? The answer should be letter C, affective. Okay, so that is how we analyze. The thought processes when we analyze board exam question should be like that. You read the question, no, and then try to analyze option per option kung alin mas dito yung magmamatch dun sa tanong. All right, let's proceed to 41. Okay, so jump ulit tayo, no? Verbal linguistic intelligence involves all the choices except one. Which is this? So alin dito yung isang hindi related to verbal linguistic intelligence? Ecological field trip, debates, journal writing, or reading. Okay, so I think everybody answered letter A. Okay, tama ba? Very good po. No, the correct answer is letter A, ecological field trip. Bakit? Bakit debates, journal writing, reading ay verbal linguistic? So if we look back again, Howard Gardner, no, then we define verbal linguistic. Verbal linguistic learning refers to a person's ability to reason, solve problems, and learn using language. So verbal has to do with the use of language, right? So when you say debate, you're debating, so you are actually using language. You're solving problem issue with the use of language. Debate is verbally linguistic, okay, or verbal is a manifestation of verbal linguistic intelligence. Journal writing, when you put your thoughts into words, using language, yeah, verbal linguistic, yeah. Reading, when you learn to appreciate text, no, the language, the words there, verbal linguistic, yeah. But when you say ecological field trip, no, having an appreciation to environment by going there, visiting some places, parks, no, or important environmental landmark, yeah, that only manifests your inclination towards nature. No? I mean to say, you're a naturalist. Okay, you're a naturalist.
Palabas ba tayo?
All right, let's proceed to item 40. Okay, so clear.
Dali.
Okay, yeah. So, all right, which will not be given importance in values education? A, dogmatic dimension, B, behavioral dimension, C, affective dimension, or D, cognitive dimension. Sige nga, ano sagot natin? Letter D, cognitive. Kasi values. Okay, Messi, D. Okay, faith, D. Alright, majority, answer D. Ano sagot sa 41? Wait, sagot sa 41? A po, ecological field trip. Okay. So, Brazil D. So all of you answered D, right? Mm-hmm. Now, this is actually, although behavioral, affective, cognitive, these are the three domains of human development, no? According to John Santra. In teaching profession, also this is covered under values, morality, and you as a teacher, values education, no? Under teaching profession. And in this PowerPoint, no, so the answer is actually dogmatic, no? So I assume na ito yung medyo mahirap, no, para sa inyo kasi all of you answered D. Okay, except for Michelle. No, Michelle answered A. Okay. Why? Now, yeah, so this is one of the PowerPoint I use because I also handle teaching profession in USJR. So values have cognitive, affective, and behavioral dimension. Now, take note, values have cognitive, affective, and behavioral. Paano mayroong cognitive, affective, behavioral dimension si values education? So the cognitive dimension is when you have understanding. All right? Halimbawa, kapag hindi mo alam kung ano ang honesty, wala kang kaalam-alam sa value na honesty, of course, wala talaga. You will not be able to manifest or demonstrate honesty. No? Kasi it starts with cognitive. You should have knowledge and understanding of what the value is. So if you know how to define honesty, when you are clear about what honesty is, so okay ka na sa cognitive dimension. And then here it comes the experience, no? The affective, the social emotional part. You have some experience with it. No? So when you experience betrayal or somebody lied to you, no, and you were hurt, no, and then you realize how important honesty is. So andyan na, no, may social emotional na, may kurot na, no, na level. That's the time that doon na papasok si behavioral, and you will be living by that value or virtue. No? This is now the true acid test. If we really value a value, no? So may nalaglag na pitaka, tapos pupulitin mo, no? Ang tanong, isusoli mo ba o itatago mo sa bag nyo? Okay, so acid test na the behavioral aspect. No? So you see, when you see values education, you really have to touch this. We begin with cognitive. We make sure that our students understand on the cognitive level. No? They have knowledge and understanding about that value. Then here comes the affective. They have to feel about it, strongly feel about it. And then the behavioral aspect, they put that into practice. Okay? So, yeah. Now, bakit dogmatic yung naging sagot natin? Okay. There's no such thing as dogmatic dimension. All right? In terms of human development, in terms of the domains of learning, in terms of values education, there's no such thing as dogmatic domain. But then there's really term dogmatic. No? Dogmatic from the root word dogma, and dogma is doctrines or body of doctrines concerning faith. Daan pa ko. Si Fern, no? Taga Cebu siguro ni si Fern. A doctrine or body of doctrines concerning faith or morals formally stated and authoritatively proclaimed by church. So when the church would say you have to pray the rosary, you have to pray your Hail Mary, that's dogma, no? Like really telling you with authority that you have to do this. Okay? Dogmatic is characterized by that, no? That you are characterized by or given, no, to the expression of opinion very strongly or positive as if they were facts. When priests tell you na when you do this thing, you will really go to hell. No, that's in a way a dogmatic character. No? If you do this, you will surely go to hell. Ayan, dogmatic po yan. Now, again, in the modern times, we become more open-minded. No? In terms, when it comes to values education, it's not anymore focusing on values education attached to our church beliefs. No? In the modern times, in the present times, values education, the word value is really focused on the value, but not on the doctrines of whatever church. Because remember, we have to recognize that at present times, our students right now are not all Catholic or not having the same faith as you have as a teacher. You may have students who are Muslims, no, they worship Allah, di ba, yung legal wives, no, kumbaga, learn to appreciate that, no. And then we have some students who don't practice any religion, no, they are the atheists, no. So we have to respect that. That is one of their basic human right, no, giving them the respect of whatever religious practices, or what if they don't practice anything at all, no. So as a teacher, you have no power to supersede that basic human right. Now, the best way to attack values education, no, is not through anchoring it to church, no, beliefs or whatever, but rather making it more universal, no? The value of honesty, the value of love, forgiveness, peace, no, charity. No, these are more universal way of preaching values. Do you get me? Okay. So you know, say hep hep if you get me. Okay. Hep hep. Ayan, no? Very good. No? So, ayan po, yan po yung explanation kung bakit dogmatic dimension yung sagot natin for item number 14. Okay? Sige. Let's proceed to item 44. If the teacher believes that a child's brain is unique and vastly different from one another, which will violate his or her principle? A, giving ample opportunity for a pupil, all right, to explore rather than simply dish out information. Okay, so I've seen here letter C agad. B, employing principles in multiple intelligence in teaching. C, making a left-handed pupil write her right hand as this is better. In letter D, allowing open dialogue among students of various cultural backgrounds. Now, I think this was covered in the August, no, mini coaching series, or the monthly ayuda. Okay, and of course, no, everybody got the right answer. And it's letter C, making left-handed people write using her right hand as this is better. So that is very constricting. No, you're not allowing the student to express himself, or you're not following his natural development. So there's such concept we call naturalism. All right, developed by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who believed that we have to respect the natural, development of the child. So, kung mas dominant yung kanyang left hand, you have to respect that. Do not say, oh, kapag left-handed ka, you will surely go to hell. No, ano yan, no? Kampo niya ng kadiliman. Kampo niya ng Satanas. You do not do that. Okay? So, in a modern way, modern pedagogy, we have to make sure that we encourage and we respect, no, children's natural ability, skill, and natural development, no, growth and development. Okay, now if we again look at the anatomy of the option, there's the technique, all right, in board exam or in any test taking, test taking strategy, called test taking strategy. You call the odd man out. Odd man out. Sa Tagalog, alin ang naiiba? Alin ang naiiba, yan ang magiging sagot. Most likely. No? So, this happens when you're not sure of the answer. So, all you have to do is look at the meaning, of the statement, or tingnan nyo lang, no, kung saan ba dito parang simang, no, or iba. Iba sa lahat. Okay? So, halimbawa, ito, A, giving ample opportunity for pupils to explore, no, rather than dish out. So, di ba? Ito, ano to, napaka-positive. Ito, ideal to, napaka-modern way of teaching. No? Like, you give your students the opportunity to explore rather than just simply spoon-feeding them some information. B, employing principles in multiple intelligence. No? So, utilizing multiple intelligence in your activities and teaching strategies. That is very positive. That is very ideal. No? Letter D, allowing dialogue, open dialogue among students coming from different cultural backgrounds. And that is also very positive, very ideal. No? So you can see, no? A is very good and ideal, B is good and this D is also. But letter C, making left-handed people right, you see, ano yan, napaka, in a way, negative, no? Kasi you're constricting the child, no? And you're very controlling the child. You're not giving him the freedom to express himself. Also not ideal. No? Tsaka napaka-trivial niya. No? It's just a petty. No? It's such a petty, ano ba? It's just a petty behavior, our decision for a teacher to to have the pupil, no, to force the pupil to use your right hand if the when the pupil is left-handed by nature, no? So, ayan, no? So, we have positive, positive, negative, positive. So, alin ang naiba? Letter C, no? Negative. So, yan ang magiging sagot natin. So, of course, no, the answer is letter C. 45. Which can be expected of grade 4 pupils? All right? Getting along with classmates, being independent of parents. So, Dwight answered A. Showing class leadership. D. Displaying a male, feminine, social. May ibang sagot pa ba? All right, Felicia answered A. Chini, Quinoline, A. Okay, Rezil, Madeline, Charmaine answered A. Okay. Mercedes, Maria, Leia, John Edward. Okay. So the answer is letter A. Tama kayo, no? So the answer is like getting along with classmates. So I think this was also, I'm not so sure, but I feel like this was also covered in the previous mini coaching series. Okay. But ano ba yung basis natin? Now, in our regular review session, we touched one topic. The topic is developmental task. All right, or developmental tasks. So developmental tasks was that concept was created by Robert Havigers in 1972. And according to him, developmental tasks or developmental task is one that arises at a certain period in our life. And then when we successfully achieve that task, it will lead to happiness and success with later tasks. No? But if we fail to achieve the task, it will lead to unhappiness, social disapproval, and difficulty. Okay? Yan ang sabi ni Robert Havigers. Kita natin yung picture ni Robert Havigers. Now, in our PowerPoint also, no, in the regular review session, we also, covered this part. No? Ito yung mga developmental tasks listed by Robert Havigers. No? So for infancy and early childhood, no, 0 to 5 years old, sabi niya, the child, ito yung mga tasks ng bata. Learning to walk, learning to take solid food, learning to talk, learning to eliminate body waste, and so on. Okay? But, again, if we go back to the question, sabi dito, ano ba yung expected? Okay? Di ba, developmental tasks, same as developmental milestones, ito yung mga expectations, bale. Ito yung mga expectations natin sa mga bata depending on their age. Grade 4 pupils are what age? Mga 10 years old. No? And they belong to what we call middle childhood. No? Middle childhood is 6 to 12 years old, grades 1 up to grade 7, or grade 6. No? Grades 1 to 6. Okay? So, sabi dito, learning physical skills. Now, look at the third. Okay, kasi wala pa lang box. Let me put my, okay. So, I don't know if you can see my pointer, mouse pointer. All right. So, let me read. No, the third line, di ba, learning physical skills. They are building wholesome attitudes. Sabi dito, learning to get along with age mates. No? So, age mates dito would pertain to your classmates, to your peers. No? So, getting along with age mates. Kasi by middle childhood, the child learns to be more sociable. No? So, learns to socialize. No? Magkakaroon kasi yan ng transition. If you recall, during infancy, early childhood particularly, magkakaroon yan ng imaginary friend, they would play in isolation. Pag nag-transition yan to middle childhood, they would tend to play with friends, with somebody, not anymore all by themselves. No? So, ayan. They get along with others, no? With their age mates, with their friends, with their classmates. Okay? Kung kaya, yung sagot natin is Letter A, no? Getting along with classmates. Bakit hindi B, C, and D? Pwede bang B? Pwede bang C? Pwede bang D? Now, again, if we go back to Robert Havighurst's developmental task, okay? All right. Can you see it? Adolescence. No, look at adolescence. Diba? Second line, sabi dito, achieving masculine, feminine social role. So si letter D pala, no, option D pala, belongs to adolescence. It's a developmental task belonging to adolescence. Okay? Ano pa ba? You can see, meron pa ba? Mature relation. Yeah, emotion, independence. No? Independence from parents. So, nandito, no? Achieving emotional independence of adults. Ayan. So, yung letter B na option, which has to do with emotional independence, ay ano pala, no? Nasa adolescence din. Okay? But, showing class leadership, okay? Wala siya sa developmental task. Pero usually, kailan ba magsisimula yung mga yung totoo no na election of officers tapos may ano talaga may totoong tungkulin talaga na maging leader no like even having Supreme Student Government or Supreme Student Council. 'Di ba it starts during junior high school no or kung dating ano pa curriculum no first year to fourth year high school no. So it starts during adolescence no na magkakaroon din ng mga class leadership na totoo. Sa elementary meron pa rin mga election of officers pero ano lang yan parang type hanggang ano lang yan pag magiging assistant lang yan ni teacher no yung tagasulat ng mga talkative ng mga classmates no or kung wala si teacher siya lang yun pero hindi talaga totoong class leadership na leader material talaga. So it starts also in adolescence. Although not mentioned dun sa developmental task ni Havighurst. Pero yung mention talaga na belonging to grade 4 pupils, no, which is the middle and the childhood, is letter A, no, getting along with classmates. All right, number 46. Which involves difficulties in specific cognitive processes like perception, language, memory, due to mental retardation, emotional behavioral disorder, or sensory impairment. All right, Angelique answered letter A. Very good. Okay, Ella, Dwight, Lena, Cristobal. All right, Robbins, Maya, Shaila, Jennifer, Mika. Okay. So napaka-easy ng tanong na ito, no? It's learning disabilities. Correct. No? Letter A, learning disabilities. Now, this is a screenshot of that part in Met Left Reviewer 2021. Yes. So if you have a copy of the Left Reviewer 2021, so andyan yan sa page 345 to 346. My part doon, my input, there's all about inclusive education and special education. No, so naka-explain doon yun ano yung mga types of disabilities. Alright? So, when you say learning disabilities, kapag affected yung perception, language, memory, or metacognition, ayun yan, learning disabilities. Sometimes, we call it specific learning disabilities, SLD. Halimbawa, dyslexia. No? So, okay naman sa lahat ng mga other cognitive abilities, pero sa reading lang talaga medyo affected, no? Hindi nakaka-read yung bata. Kasi pag binabasa niya, yung mga letra sasayaw or gagalaw, babaliktad no, sa kanyang brain. Alright? So dyslexia. Dysgraphia, kapag okay siya sa lahat except sa writing. Dyscalculia, okay siya sa lahat except arithmetic. Yes, Tom Cruise has dyslexia. Dyslexia ba? Oh yeah, dyslexia si Tom Cruise. Kaya when he memorized lines para sa kanyang 'di ba sa shooting ganyan may mga movie yeah, for shooting, he doesn't read scripts kasi may dyslexia si Tom Cruise. He just listened. So may parang audio version ng kanyang mga scripts. And then he delivered. He memorized it, then delivers it during the shooting. Okay? So, tama. Dyspraxia also has to do with specific psychomotor disorder. So, if specific lang talaga, learning disability yan. Pero kapag generally, yung cognitive level niya is talagang very low, yung IQ niya very low, no? Lahat na lang, no? Understanding, pati following instruction, even simple mga livelihood skills, no? Or living skills, no? Hindi livelihood, living skills like washing the dishes, tying the shoelaces, ganyan. Mental retardation na po yan. Also known right now, no, more appropriately termed as intellectual disability. So that is for the general poor or sub-average cognitive ability. Pero kapag specific lang, learning disabilities po yan. Now, one of the options also was speech and communication disorders. Ano ba yung option na yun? Letter B, no? So when you say speech and communication disorders, these are problems pertaining to voice and also language. Right? So difficulties in pronouncing words. Nauutal. Diba may movie yung si ano yun, yung super something na wala siyang emotion pero yung lalaki, yung boyfriend niya in real life, 'di ba? Nung nauutal, no? Ayan, no? Naging trending pa yan. I forgot ano ba yung movie na yan? Tula para kay Stella. Isang daang tula para kay Stella. Yun yung si Bella Padilla naman yun. Yung yung komedyante, babaeng walang pakiramdam. Yes, yun, no? Anong title ng movie na yan? Basta. Ayan, kapag nauutal, hindi matuloy-tuloy yung kanyang pagsasalita. Ano yan? Speech and communication disorders. Minsan, ngungo o singungo, yan. O, di ba yung boyfriend niya, o yung dati, isa sa mga cast ng Sunday Pinasaya, yung isa sa mga actors. Anyway, okay. So much of the showbiz, no? Yan. Kapag, di ba may mga tao din na palaging may letter S sa kanyang mga salita, no? Nadadagdagan yung addition, meron ding omission, no? Nakukulangan ng letra, o di kaya babaliktad, hindi makaka-pronounce ng violin, valuyin ang sasabihin, mga ganyan, alaya, ayala, ganyan. Tawag natin dyan is speech and communication disorders. Alright? Now, si letter C was autism. Autism ba si letter C? Autism, tapos emotional, yes. So, meron ding mga disabilities under social-emotional behavioral difficulties. No? So autism, this has to do with affected yung kanyang social skills. No? So, hindi siya nakakapag-eye-to-eye contact, hindi siya marunong umintindi ng jokes or emotional, hindi siya nakaka-empathize, no? Hindi niya naiintindihan yung mga facial expression. Autism yan, no? Tapos may repetitive behaviors pa, palaging ginaganon yung ulo or self-injurious behavior, no? So parang hinihit niya yung ulo niya sa pader or ang sarili niya. Alright? The Good Doctor, yes, The Good Doctor, autism sa kanya, no? But it's autism actually is a spectrum. Merong highly functional autism, meron ding low functional autism. So yung iba kahit may autism pero wow, grabe, no? Nakaka-create ng magandang artworks, or like The Good Doctor, siya, savant autism siya. He knows how to operate, no? Or very good at imagining how your body parts as san yung tapos parang na accountant Ben Affleck, yes, no? So mga ganyan, no? Autism, magaling sa math. Rain Man, if you've seen that movie Rain Man. So, no? Autism yan. So ang problema talaga nila is hindi sila nakakapag eye-to-eye contact, poor sa verbal communication, tapos non-verbal, hindi sila nakaka-read ng emotions, wala din silang facial expression, meron silang repetitive behaviors. Magtitiptoe sila pag sila lalakad, tapos pinapalo na yung sarili nila, yung ulo na, pinupupok yung ulo na, mga ganyan, autism yan. Finally, we have emotional conduct disorders. In the United States, they call it EBD, no, emotional behavioral disorder. So eto, presence of emotional states or problematic emotions like depression and aggression that already disturbs learning and performance in school, no? So examples of these EBD or ECD, all right, schizophrenia, so may psychotic disorder, distorted yung kanyang thinking, paranoia, narcissism, no, extreme fear, extreme love of self, antisocial, extreme dependence, acting child, withdrawn child, aggressive child. So these are what you call ECD. All right? At napakahirap nito kasi minsan yung ADHD po, saan po yun? Ibang category din yung ADHD. Although, depende kasi yan. ADHD is also belonging to attention deficit. All right. Sa United States, ADHD belongs to other health impairment. Okay? Sa Philippines, we follow UP5 classification. I think ADHD belongs to I think sa A, no? I forgot. Basta just check, no? MetLab Reviewer page 346. Nandun yan, A, B, C, D, E. This is letter B, the category on social, emotional, behavioral difficulties. No? Meron pang letter C, letter D, letter E. No? Yung mga physical, parang letter C yun, no? Mga physical, mga putol yung kamay, no? Yung arms, yung legs, ganyan. Mga orthopedic impairment sa physical aspect yun. Okay? Sa US, 13 yung kanilang categories. Sa Philippines, 5. We follow the UP. Okay, although we also accept the 13 categories of disabilities of US kasi parang US is the model, no? With their IDEA or IDEA, no? Meron silang act. We call it Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 2004. At yan yung pinaka parang constitution, kumbaga, not only in the US, pati sa whole wide world, no? We follow how they implement, no, special education, no, and how they treat children with disabilities. Okay, so now let's proceed to item 47. Okay, A daw. All right, which characterizes all adolescents. Okay, so hormonal, last purge of dependence, unruly. Okay, so I guess it's also an easy question. The correct answer is A, hormonal. Bakit hormonal? Okay. Now, take note, B, C, and D, although po pwedeng mangyari din ito, medyo makikita din ito natin sa mga adolescents. Hindi pala adolescents yan, adolescents. No? Adolescents. But, hindi lahat. Hindi siya general. Not all. Okay? So when you say unruly behavior, being defiant, being rebellious, may mga teenagers na ganun, nagiging rebellious pagdating sa teenage years, no, or magiging pagdating sa puberty or adolescent stage, magiging unruly. So totoo yan, no? But again, not all. When we look at all options, na sure tayo na all adolescents or teenagers will really experience, letter A is talagang universal yan. Lahat magkakaroon ng hormonal changes. Di ba? If we recall, the adolescent stage is 13 to 18 years old. This was a slide coming from our regular review session. Tapos teenagers, adolescents, diba? Puberty occurs, di ba? So, when you say puberty, ayun na, magkakaroon na ng bigote, mag-change na yung boses, kakaroon na ng mga pubic hair sa kilikili at some other parts. Mag-broaden your shoulder, maglalaki yung breast ng mga girls, tapos magkakaroon ng menstruation, magkakaroon ng spermarchy, menarchy, or yung nocturnal emission sa lalaki. Ganyan. No? So, it's all because of hormonal changes. And it's common to all teenagers and adolescents. Kung kaya, ano talaga, no? This cannot be argued. No? A talaga yung saktong sagot dito. Okay? Next. 48. When social activists following Kohlberg theory of moral development, what will the moral reasoning or perspective of social activists who seek human rights? Okay. Tanggalin pa natin so tong when social activists seek, diretso na pala, no? Following Kohlberg, what will be the moral of social activists who seek human rights and the welfare of citizens? Social contract daw. Okay. Okay. So very good, no? I think everybody answered A. Correct answer, social contract. If kapag sa question may mga social activists or mga nagpo-protest against laws, no, against certain bill, against you like bill like mga reproductive health bill, mga ganyan, or yung bill about yung gender something. Remember the bill about gender? Gender, uh, the, basta yung bill about gender dati. SOGI. Yan. The SOGI bill, di ba? May mga protesta ganyan. If you, usually, yung mga nagpo-protesta about BL laws, nasa higher level of maturity na sila. Nasa post-conventional levels na. Even if it becomes law, but the fact na for you, alam nyo na even if that is a law already, laws sometimes are not moral. Not all laws are moral. Ayan. Nasa ano ka na, social contract level. You believe na laws are like a contract that can be dissolved. Just like marriage contract, di ba? May kontrata ka, no? Or like when you have an agreement with someone, legally binding, di ba? May contract. But remember, a contract can be dissolved, can be annulled, right? So nasa level ka you think that it's not absolute. Laws are never absolute. Nasa social contract level ka. Nasa social contract level ka, no? Post-conventional, stage 5. Okay? But let me explain further. So if you can recall, Lawrence Kohlberg has three levels: pre-conventional, conventional, at saka post-conventional, no? Kita natin dito sa baba. Let me find my pointer. Sorry. So, kita natin sa baba, no, yung aking pointer, no? Pre-conventional level, conventional, tapos post-conventional. Bawat levels may dalawang stages, no? So, si pre-conventional level may stage 1 and stage 2. Si conventional level may stage 3 and 4. Si post-conventional level may stage 5 and 6. Si social contract was actually stage 5. Okay? Now, if you recall, ito yung differences. Kapag pre-conventional, ang bata unaware siya sa laws. Kapag conventional, yung tao aware na siya sa laws, and he tends to follow and obey the laws. Now look, in the question, there was social activists, those mga protesters. Meaning to say, aware sila sa law, but they protest against that law. So meaning to say, hindi sila nagfa-follow, they're not obeying. That is our clue na wala siya sa conventional level. Bagkos nasa higher level na siya, in fact, highest level, and that is the post-conventional level. They go beyond the laws, no? So they think more of the moral virtues over social conventions or laws. Okay? And if you look at here, post-conventional, social contract orientation, sabi dito, I will protest against laws that I think are immoral or unjust. So, tama kayo, no? Nasa social contract level yung tinatanong dun sa question. Okay? So, I hope that's clear. How about now item 52? Blessed Mother Teresa of Calcutta. So, I think lumabas din to sa dating mga mini coaching series natin. Mother Teresa of Calcutta vowed to serve the sick and the old. What was her moral reasoning or perspective? B daw, sabi ni Lena, sino pa ba? Eleanor, and mga previous Rachel. Okay. Quinilin. All right. So the correct answer for this one, you're right, no, universal principles. So if we go back, all right, if we go back, like wala ka nang pakialam sa laws, ang sayo lang, no, you transcend over, no, or beyond what the law prescribed. Dun ka talaga sa living out your virtues. Regardless of laws, I will always behave according to my moral virtues. Yan yung universal ethical principles orientation for stage 6. Okay? So, tumpak kayo, no? Universal principles ang sagot natin dito. Alright. So, may tanong ba before we proceed to the next question? Do you have a question? Do you have clarification? Sige nga, yes or no? If wala, say no. Okay, no po, sabi ni Sherman. Okay. Very good. Okay. Dito na naman tayo. In order to inculcate or appreciate, inculcate appreciation. Parang mali yung grammar dito. In order to inculcate appreciation about the 1986 EDSA revolution, teacher Noy Noy related the events to students' parents experience. I think may kulang dito na experience ng parents, no? Who were already alive at that time in 1986. Okay. What memory retrieval method was used? A, generation, B, elaboration, C, personalization, or D, context. Sige nga. Anong sagot? Letter C daw, personalization. Nisi answered C, Lena answered C, Rowena answered C. Okay. Right. Very good. No? Jennifer Taberna A. Rowena, power of C daw sa kanya. Mercedes, okay. So medyo, if you're not familiar or medyo baguhan kayo or medyo new itong concept na ito, yung mga generation, elaboration, context, no? Kung bago sa inyo to, itong mga concepts na ito. So allow me to explain. No? So the correct answer is actually letter C, personalization. This is, again, a screenshot of the book from Met Reviewer 2019. Okay? For a while, medyo nalolobat ako. I'll charge my phone. No? Saglit lang. Okay. So, from MetLab Reviewer 2019, page 317 to 380. So, andyan to ng mga methods for increasing probability of remembering, or memory retrieval methods. All right. So there's organization, like information organized efficiently should be recalled. Deep processing, meaning to say the teacher gives more meaning para mas matatandaan ng mga bata yung lesson or yung topic or yung concept. Elaboration is when you connect this new information with old to gain meaning. Halimbawa, may bago kang term sa science pero you connect it with the lesson you have in science or math. May complicated formula but then you connect it with the other formula. So yan? You nagkaroon ng elaboration or connecting. Generation is things we produce are easier to remember than things we hear. So we let the students produce the knowledge rather than the teacher spoon feeding the knowledge. Okay? So generation, we let the students generate. Context is when you magbibigay po si Sir mamaya. Okay. Remembering the situation helps recover information. So context is when we remember the situation, the context, all right? We remember better, no, the information or the concept. Personalization, kapag magkakaroon na ng personalized, no, making it relevant or meaningful to the experience of the individual, no, or to the person. So paanong personalization yung sagot? Sige nga. Bakit personalization? So, yung sagot dito. Now take note, the teacher is relating EDSA revolution to the personal experience daw of parents. So I think yung ibig sabihin sa context, sa situation na ito is teacher tells the students, okay, sige nga, class, ito yung assignment niyo. Pag uwi niyo sa bahay, tanungin niyo yung mga parents ninyo or yung mga lola ninyo tungkol sa experience nila sa EDSA revolution. And then, yes, the parents and the lola will be sharing their experience nung time nung EDSA revolution. So, mas personalized, magkakaroon ng more meaning. Kasi, based on experience, nagkakaroon ng personalization, personalization. So, klaro ba yan? So, I hope that's all clear. Okay? Crystal clear po ba yan? So, yung sagot natin is letter C, no? Personalization. Okay. So meron din another question that has to do with that memory retrieval method. Item 50. Right. Teacher Ambeth wanted to make sure that students recall about the exploits of patriots, so he gave the social, political, and cultural background of the late 19th century Hispanic colonial Philippines. What method for memory retrieval did he employ? A, elaboration, B, visual imagery, C, context, hindi yan imaginary, no, but visual imagery. C, context or the meaningful learning. Alright, context, sabi ni Charmaine Dwight, Jasmine, Rachel. Okay, very good. The answer is context. Bakit context? Kasi remember, binigyan niya ng konteksto, binigyan niya ng cultural background, binigyan niya ng socio-political background. No? Yung pangyayari during 19th century. Okay, so mas maiintindihan ng mga bata kapag alam niya yung sitwasyon at that time. No? Halimbawa, yung author, no? Yung author ng The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. So, for you to understand the story of The Necklace, all right, by Guy de Maupassant, you have to understand kung ano ba yung era where the author belong. No? Kailan ba siya pinanganak? Ano ba yung sitwasyon doon sa London at that time? No? Bakit niya nasabi itong mga ganito? No? Bakit ganito yung mga places na mention niya sa story? So you will learn to appreciate more, and then you will remember better, no? Kasi mas naiintindihan mo talaga kasi nabigyan na ng konteksto yung mga pangyayari, yung storya. Okay? Ayan po. So, context is the answer. Number 51. Research says people tend to attribute successes to internal causes, while their failures to external causes. What then is the most potent predictor of future success? Okay? Sabi ni Fern, D. Sabi ni Dwight, letter D. Eunice, Lena, Felicia, Merced, Rachel, Mamanta, Eleanor, D. Okay. Very good. The answer is letter D, motivation. No? Now, you might not be familiar, all right? There is one of the motivational theories, no, that we cover under, facilitating learning subject, but child and adolescent, there's facilitating learning. One of the theories covered under motivation, no, theories of motivation, is the attribution theory by Bernard Wiener. Bernard Wiener. Sabi ni Bernard Wiener, sabi niya, there are three factors that influence what students expect to happen. And there's the locus, stability, and controllability. So, sabi dito ni Wiener, if successful students fail, they attribute their failure to internal. But, okay, so they may think they misread the direction or did not study. When students attribute failures to uncontrollable, stable factors are more likely to focus on their own inadequacies. They become depressed and feel helpless. So, sometimes they attribute success to effort. No? Like, nag-top notcher ka kasi nagbigay ka ng sobrang effort. Or sometimes you attribute your ability. No? Naging top notcher ka kasi talagang magaling, no? Likas na magaling ka lang. No? Okay, so, ayan, no? Natural ability. Or, you succeed, no? Kasi easy lang yung task or yung test. Okay? So, sabi ni Bernard Wiener, no? Ito yung mga sabi niya na, minsan, when we succeed, we go for this one. No? Itong something internal, like nasa ability natin, nasa intelligence natin, or something personality. Or it can also be effort natin nung talagang nag-effort tayo ng gusto. No? Kaya lang, sabi ni Wiener, yung effort tsaka mood, medyo unstable yan. Kasi yung effort natin, minsan mataas, minsan mababa. Pati yung mood, din, no? Paiba-iba. Kapag nag-fail tayo, we normally blame. No? Parang ibubuntong natin yung blame. Ano ba sa tawag yung blame? Sinisisi natin sa external. No? Like, sobrang mahirap yung exam. No? Yung teacher talaga namin, sobrang taas ng standards, ganyan, no? External. Or, minsan, sa pwede rin sa something unstable, like talagang malas, no? Or wala sa kondisyon, mga ganyan, no? So external 'yan, no? So sabi ni Wiener, when we succeed daw, we take credit, no, doon sa internal na ability, intelligence, no? We credit our own ability and intelligence. Pero kapag we fail, we blame it to the external circumstances, no? But this has to do with motivation. So that's why the idea of these things. No, people attribute success to internal causes, failures to this has to do with motivation. That the most potent predictor of success is motivation. Okay? So nasa ano to? Reviewer 2019 edition, page 380. Page 380. Okay, number 53. Which is the most preferable way of referring those with disabilities like polio? A is polio stricken. B had polio. C polio victim. D suffers from polio. Okay, so majority answered B. Correct. The answer is B, had polio. Bakit? Now, if you look at our MetLab Reviewer 2021 pati 2019 edition, andito din, no? Nandito din itong screenshot na ito. No? How to deal with learners with exceptionalities or disabilities. No? One of the principle, no, is to use people first language. No? So when you say people first language, you do not say, see, Karen is autistic. No? Autistic Karen. You don't say that. No? But you say, Karen has autism. No? So instead of autistic child, you say child with autism. Kaya people first language. No? You mention first the person or the name of that person, and then just yung kanyang condition. You don't have to make it like an adjective as if you are viewing him in a condescending way, no? In a bad way, no? In a very discriminating way. So, emphasize abilities, not limitations. No euphemism, no implication of illness. So avoid negative words. All right? Pero hindi rin po pwedeng euphemism, no, na vertically challenged, horizontally challenged. Yung mga ganyan, di ba? Sobrang mataba ka, you're vertically, or poor ka, financially challenged. Mga ganyan, euphemism yan. Okay? So, if you look at the anatomy of the items, no, is polio stricken? The word stricken, di ba? Like poverty stricken. It's something negative. Something negative. Had polio, no negative word, no? Di ba? Had, has, have. Okay lang yan. Neutral yan. Polio, it's the condition. Polio victim. The word victim is also negative. No? Suffers from polio. The word suffer is also negative. So if you can see negative, positive, negative, negative, on me. Negative, neutral, negative, negative. So, alin yung naiba? It's letter B, no? Had polio, no? No negative word. And it's also, ano dito? It's also compliant to the principle of people first language. All right, item 77. So, mga special education, inclusive education lang po tayo, no? Differentiated and multilingual teaching will be most effective in this setting. A, special children classes. B, multi-grade classes. C, children with diverse cultural backgrounds, or letter D, preschool children. See nga? Jennifer Taberna, B. All right, John Edward, B. Felicia, B. Rowena, Mercedes. Very good. The answer is letter, hindi pala multi-grade. The answer is letter C. Children with diverse cultural backgrounds. But letter B? Akala ko letter B din, no? But then, pag tingin ko, letter C nga pala. Oo nga pala, letter C. Bakit letter C? C lagi jud. Okay. So, baka, number 33, Jen. Okay, Ma'am Jen. But, kasi hindi ako yung nag-prepare ng PowerPoint, Ma'am Jen. Baka hindi nakasama sa PowerPoint na binigay sa akin ni Miss Clarissa, no? But sige, we will cover that after this, no? Number 33, sige, after the end of this PowerPoint, before I give additional questions. All right. Bakit letter C? So I would presume na medyo hindi pala easy itong tanong na to kasi majority answered letter B, only a few got the correct answer letter C, no? Bakit kaya letter C? Okay. Now, let's go back to the definition of differentiated learning tsaka multilingual education, multilingual instruction. When you say differentiated learning or differentiated instruction or differentiation, right? Differentiation, It means tailoring the instruction to meet individual needs. Whether teachers differentiate the content, the process, the products, or differentiate the learning environment, the use of ongoing assessment and flexible grouping makes this a successful approach to instruction. No? So kapag iniba mo yung, halimbawa, yung mga worksheets, no? Depending on the level of the students, so yung mga medyo nagtatap sa klase nyo, halimbawa, bibigyan nyo ng worksheets na medyo difficult, higher yung difficulty level, no? Uh, uh, ng mga worksheets, no? Pero yung mga average lang or medyo nasa bottom, yung regular lang na level ng worksheets, no, ay bibigyan. Differentiated instruction po yan, no? Or iba nyo yung mga gagamiting mga materials, no, yung content, yung definition, no, nagdi-differ siya. Differentiated instruction po. Kapag multilingual naman education, this refers to the use of two or more languages as mediums of instruction or as media of instruction. No? So iba-ibang language ang ginagamit within the classroom setting. Okay? Now, paano naging letter C? Actually, kung differentiated lang yung nakalagay dun sa question, all of them po pwede. Sa SPED po pwedeng mag-differentiate. Of course, dapat i-differentiate talaga kasi tailored to individual needs, no, with child with this, no, child with a disability, no, dapat individualized instruction. Multi-grade, no, may grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, no, in just one classroom. Of course, dapat i-differentiate, no. Diverse cultural background, you differ din. Preschool children, no, pwede rin nating applyan ng differentiation, no. Pero kapag multilingual, ibang storya na naman. There are cases na hindi siya applicable, no, like sa SPED classes, no. So kung same naman ng culture, pareho naman silang Filipino speakers or Bisaya speakers, no. So why not use Bisaya or Filipino? No need to add other kinds of languages. No? So yan yung nagiging issue dito. Okay? Kapag special children classes, pwede differentiated. Multi-grade, pwede differentiated. Pero children with diverse cultural background, iba-iba yung kultura. Mayroon kang German, Japanese, meron kang American, meron kang Korean, or di kaya meron kang Maranao, meron kang Tausug, meron kang Tagalog, Bicolano, Bisaya, ganyan. So you can use different multilingual na. Klaro po ba yan? No? So A, B, and D po pwedeng applyan ng differentiated, pati si C pwedeng differentiated. Pero kasi nasa question si multilingual, and multilingual is applicable lang din kung yung setup, yung composition ng klase nyo po ay iba-iba yung kultura at iba-iba yung lingwahe. Yan na, no, doon na kayo pwedeng mag-apply ng multilingual instructional education. Okay, 101. Metacognition among learners happens in advanced processes, which is not one of them. A, learning how to recognize thoughts, acquisition of new knowledge, assessing own thinking, and learning how to study. Okay, ano ba yung tamang sagot dito? Letter B, acquisition. Okay, sige. I think this is an easy question. Metacognition, we know that already. So it's acquisition of new knowledge, no? So metacognition is thinking about your thinking, all right? It refers to the processes used to plan, monitor, and assess your own understanding, plan, monitor your own performance. So metacognition includes a critical awareness of your thinking and learning, and you yourself is a thinker and a learner. Ayan, metacognition po yun. So if we look at the anatomy, learning to how to recognize, so when you think about your thoughts, metacognition yan. When you assess your own thinking, metacognition po yan. When you learn how to study based on your own, natural inclination and interest and styles, metacognition po yan. Pero simply acquiring knowledge, it's just cognition. Hindi yan metacognition. It's just a simple cognition, simple knowledge, acquiring of knowledge, acquisition of knowledge. Okay? Sige. Let me check yung comment. Saglit lang po ha, kasi nandun yung sabi ni Ma'am Jenny. wala akong copy, sorry, sa item 33. I was at the mercy lang din sa binigay sa akin ni Miss Clarissa. Siguro na ano lang, overlook lang yan si item 33.
Sir Engelbert,
Hi, yes sir EJ.
halo-halo po kasi yung mga yung mga tanong ng Prof Ed. So yung number 33, baka kay Sir No yun, baka kasi sa last day natin i-discuss.
Okay. So I will not
Mm.
I will not cover item 33.
So guys, kaya siya iba-iba yung number kasi sa Prof Ed Engelbert, halo-halo yung mga tanong din nyo. Kaya ang ginawa namin, pinag-iwalay namin yung mga tanong na sa'yo, yung kay Sir Philip, yung kay Ionel. Kaya talaga yung number talaga hindi siya sunod-sunod. Ayun.
Pero i-check ko sir ha. Kasi parang Lev Vygotsky kasi nakita ko sir. Si Lev Vygotsky is under my yan eh. Wait.
No problem po.
Okay.
Thanks sa clarification. No problem.
I'm not so sure if tama po ba yung just like to ask everyone, no? Or baka personal personal query to ng isang estudyante. Sabi dito, question 33, Lev Vygotsky underscores blank that opened the door for learners to acquire knowledge, thereby fostering their cognitive development. Yun ba yung nasa item question 33 po?
Hindi po, sir.
Hindi, okay. So, mali pala. Okay, sige. So, ano pala ito? Personal query lang pala ng estudyante. Okay, so let's proceed, no? So, wala pala to sa tanong. So, I'll go to additional question, no? But bibilisan na po natin kasi 8:30 na, no? Okay, so, saglit lang. I'll stop share. So, I hope you are learning, no? Are you learning, by the way? Okay, so, allow me to go to, okay, so, ito yung, yes po, we're learning. All right, very good. Thank you for the affirmation. Okay, so this is one of the PowerPoints that I used years way back. So let's just use this as an additional set of additional items. Okay, when students are allowed to be responsible. Sorry, hindi pa pala na share screen. Na share screen na po ba? Wala, no? Sorry po. Share screen. Ayan, so again, no, ito yung ginamit namin years back, one of the material that I used, no, years back. Ayan, 51. When students are allowed to be responsible on their own learning and be aware of their thinking processes. I repeat, hindi to kasama dun sa handout na nasa inyo po, yung set of board exam questions na sa inyo. So additional input lang po ito. Tapos I'll give you a copy of this, okay? Of course, the answer is letter B. Sabi nila Dwight, tapos yung before ni Dwight na Cristobal, Charmaine, okay. Tama, no? It's easy lang po. The answer is metacognition, di ba? Ano yung clue natin dito? Being aware of your own learning, aware of your own thinking processes. No? Metacognition po yun. Ayan, no? Self-awareness, self-assess, contemplation of one's learning. Okay, how about this question? Teacher Roselle wants to apply metacognitive reflection to improve her teaching. Which of the following is the most appropriate question must she ask herself? A, what have I learned from my teaching? B, were my students paying attention during the lesson? C, how was the classroom atmosphere during my lecture? Letter D, what teaching materials were effective in today's lesson? Okay. Alin dito ang metacognition? Letter A daw, no? Sabi majority of you, no? Letter A, Rowena, no? Okay, tama po ba? Correct. Now, paano naging letter A yung sagot? Now, try to analyze, no, the option. Kapag mayroong salitang my, words my, I, ayan, me, myself, yan ang isa sa mga clues natin na talagang metacognition siya. Kasi remember, metacognition is self, right? Yeah, tama si Marjorie, no? Self. Metacognition is thinking about one's own thinking, your own thinking. No, you're thinking about your own thinking. You're thinking about your own thought processes. No, so what have I learned? So may I dyan, no? So you're reflecting about your own self. So letter A is metacognition. Etong B, C, D, okay, ayan, wala yang no? Wala yang, medyo hindi yan tumpak dun sa metacognition talaga. Huh? Okay? Although sa letter B may dyan, di ba? May sa letter B. But then students yung main no? Were my students. So it's not about you but the students. Letter C, it's not about you but about the classroom atmosphere. Letter D, it's not about you but about teaching materials. So D, C, and D are external, so they are not metacognitive. Okay? Sige. Next. Ruben, oh, okay. You're welcome, Michelle. Ruben is motivated to improve his metacognitive skills. Which of the following ways does not advance metacognition? Oh, this is similar to the last item, no? Kanina doon sa nasa set of questions. And the answer is accepting new knowledge, no? Or acquiring new knowledge. Di ba kanina acquisition of new knowledge? Same lang yan, no? Accepting new knowledge. It's just cognition, not metacognition. But D, C, and D are all metacognition. All right. How about for this question? In Araling Panlipunan, teacher Kenneth asked his students the relationship between the opening of Suez Canal, the galleon trade, and the widening concept of liberalization of the Filipinos during Spanish era. What aspect of metacognition is involved in a given learning situation? A, knowledge in different areas. B, learning thinking strategy. C, problem solving. Or D, subjective thinking. Ano po yung sagot dito? Anyone? Okay. B, learning thinking. Sabi ni as Jennifer. D, Jason. B as in boy. Rachel. D, Chini. D, Shyla. D. Oh, so I believe medyo ano kayo dito, no? Ang tawag dito, unsure. No, unsure kayo sa sagot. May A din. Wow, so talagang grabe na no ang distribution, no? Talagang almost all options na. All right. The answer is letter B. Bakit? When you say knowledge in different areas, it only happens when the different subjects are merged into one. No, like you have a concept in science na kinonect mo dun sa math, na kinonect mo rin sa English, ganyan. Knowledge in different areas po yan. Kaso lang, eto kasi, Suez Canal, galleon trade, liberalization, is it, during Spanish era, is it of the same area? Yes or no? No? Suez Canal, yes po, it's all about history, it's all about social studies. No? So hindi po pwedeng different area. No? So letter A is, eliminate po natin yan. Letter C, problem solving. Hindi rin po pwedeng problem solving yan. Kasi kapag problem solving, most likely like math, di ba? May mga problem situation, tapos kailangan natin i-solve. Or physics, di ba? Kailangan natin i-compute or i-calculate. O pwede rin may problematic situation na kailangan bigyan ng resolution. Kaso, wala naman. In the STEM, in the question, there's no resolution, there's no problematic situation that must be addressed, right? Wala. You are just letting the students make some kind of relationship, no? Para bang completing the puzzle, no? Just make connection, no? Yan ang pinapagawa natin, yan ang pinapagawa nyo sa mga estudyante ninyo, no? Letting them create the connection of all the different topics under social studies or history. Hindi rin po pwedeng subjective thinking kasi what was asked here are all facts. These are historical accounts, no? Hindi to na in your own opinion. Hindi, walang dito. It's not asking your student's opinion about this. No, rather it's based on facts and making some connection. Right? So learning thinking, they learn about Suez Canal, they learned about galleon trade, they learn about the widening concept of liberalization, and then they make connections. And so learning thinking strategy po yung sagot. Klaro po ba yan? Hep? Crystal clear po, Sir Vert. Understood. Okay, thank you, Angelique. All right, SPED. All right. Hooray! Yes po, hooray. Okay, very good. How about this question? Teacher Van, a SPED teacher, wants her special students to group and work together based on their personality and work style. Which type of seating arrangement is most effective based on her purpose? A, full circle, B, cooperative cluster, C, classic rows, or D, horseshoe or U-shape. Letter B daw, cooperative cluster. B, work together no based on personality. So, of course, even if wala kang ka-ideas anong types of seating arrangement, no, pero the name itself, no, cooperative, parang medyo fitting na siya, no, doon sa question kasi working together, students group together, no. So tama kayo, the answer is cooperative cluster. Okay? But just so you know, this is what you call the full circle. This is used kapag magkakaroon ng mga guidance, parang guidance counseling session na magkakaroon ng testimonial, sharing, Bible study, mga ganyan, where everyone is equal, walang leader, and everyone can see each other or one another, right? Full circle po yan. This is what you call the cooperative cluster, wherein students can work as a group. This is actually the setup in our school before in high school, dun sa science laboratory, naka-cluster talaga siya, no? Kasi when we do mga experiments, no, mga laboratory experiments, we work as a group, no? So naka-ganitong setup na talaga, big tables, tapos every table has comprised of many chairs, ideal for the different groups, no? And then the question was all about group, no, working as a group, no, cooperating, no, working together, and then grouping them according to their interests and styles and personalities. This is what you call the classic rows. Ito yung regular classroom setting, perfect for lecture, perfect for exams. No, kasi kitang agad ni teacher lahat, everybody. And everybody is well distributed, no? Equally distributed. This is what you call the horseshoe or the U-shape, no, classroom setup. This is perfect for thesis presentation, which is presentation. Magkakaroon ng presentation yung bata, no? In front, parang may executive, no? Parang may board members na parang gano'n, no? This is also perfect kapag magkakaroon ng role play or mga group presentation in the middle of the classroom. Kasi magkakaroon ng space, no? So, ayun na, manonood na lang yung mga classmates tapos yung mga performers andun sa gitna. Alright? Horseshoe or U-shape. Next question. In creating a conducive to learning classroom for children with disabilities, teachers must carefully select, use, and design facilities and equipment appropriate for special learners. When it comes to the lighting of the SPED classroom, what rule must be followed? Be the standard yet adequate, sabi ni Seth. Eleanor B. Okay. Jennifer Tanguan, it's C. Alright. C. Oh, so hati kayo, no? Merong, iba sa inyo B, meron na answer letter C. The correct answer is letter B, standard yet adequate. Bakit hindi very well lighted? Okay. This is the, of course, no? We have to eliminate obviously wrong option. Dark classroom, of course, how can students learn even kapag kahit na hindi sila special children, no? Ordinary regular students lang, hindi matututo kapag nasa dark classroom yan. No, unless if nag-film viewing kayo, na minsan you have to close down, turn off all the lights para mas maganda yung viewing experience. No? So dark classroom is a no-no. Okay. So, light coming from the right side. No? Sobra naman. Bakit sa right side lang talaga yung light? Okay. So obviously, kahit na siya yung pinakamahaba, hindi yan yung tamang sagot. No? Hindi yan yung correct answer. No? So eliminate A, eliminate D. Now let's have letter B and C. Bakit letter B ang sagot? At bakit hindi naging letter C? Although mukhang okay si C kasi very well lighted yung dating, well lighted classroom. Kaso nga lang may word na very well lighted, meaning nasobrahan pa. Hindi lang well lighted, very well lighted talaga. Kapag very na, you have to remember na in special education, meron tayong mga students na sensitive sa light. Especially children with autism, mga ganyan. Madali yan ma-distract anything in the environment na medyo magka-cause ng, attention. No? In fact, when you are handling children with autism, dapat yung classroom niyo walang decors. Plain, walang mga makikintab, colorful na mga bulletin boards because it will only cause distractions. Okay? So, pag even well-lighted, no, may mga, not only autism, even other no disabilities, even may mga emotional behavioral disabilities, no disorders, they become sensitive to light sometimes. No? So, we have to be careful. No? So, ideally, kahit standard lang, no, as long as okay lang yung lighting, no, adequate, no, so okay na po yan. No? Let's make it simple lang talaga. No? Plain and simple. Okay? Klaro po ba yan? Wala bang magko-contest? Okay. Wala naman siguro, no? So again, ang naging issue lang dito is the word very for letter C, no? Kung wala lang very, pwedeng letter C din yung sagot, no? Well-lighted. Okay yan, no? Kasi well-lighted. O kasi very well-lighted. Ayan na. Diyan na tayo magkakatalo, no? Okay. Now, 125. When a special child is moved out of special education classrooms and then putting that child to a regular classroom, where there are typical learners. So say typical, the regular or ordinary learners. No? The special child is experiencing ano po tawag natin, field study, general education class, mainstreaming or pull-out program. So majority answered mainstreaming. Okay? Tama. The correct answer is mainstreaming. No? So in United States, they call it inclusion already, but then in the Philippines, we call it mainstreaming or integration. No? So in the Philippines, when we place children or pwedeng adolescent, no, with disabilities, no, to a regular classroom, regular classes, and learn side by side with regular peers or children, no disabilities. Ibig sabihin, you are in an integration of mainstreaming. Now, in the Philippines also, we categorize mainstreaming into two. We have partial mainstreaming and full mainstreaming. When you say partial mainstreaming, you only put the special child to a regular classroom setting doon sa mga subjects na PE, home technology, music, na less rigid, less academic subjects, right? PE, home, na kung saan pwede silang easy lang ang pag-catch up ng mga special children. Partial lang yan. Pero kapag all throughout the day, lahat ng subjects, the entire day, andun yung special child together with the regular children or dun sa regular class. You call it full mainstreaming. Okay? Okay, so again, hindi basta-basta natin ilalagay yung bata, i-mainstream ang bata. We have to make sure na ready siya at capable siya mag-survive in a regular classroom setup. Okay? Now, in United States, there's what you call LRE, least restrictive environment. So we follow that, no? Ideally, ito yung definition, no? From least restrictive to most restrictive. Ibig sabihin, hindi separate ang bata to most separate yung bata, no? So most separate na siya kapag residential schooling na, no? Pinapaaral na sa bahay or pinapaaral siya dun sa hospital. So ayan, mga most restrictive yan. So we always follow the least restrictive. Kung hindi kaya ng bata, papaakit siya, hindi siya papakit, papa-right siya towards most separate or most restrictive. No? So kung hindi kaya yung general education class with consultation, itinerant. Hindi kaya itinerant, resource. Kung hindi kaya resource, self-contained. Kung hindi kaya, special day school. Kung hindi pa rin kaya, hospital. Kung hindi kaya, residence. So ganyan yan, no? Ito yung categories of the different environment. Okay, the motivation. Of the following human needs, which is considered as the most basic needs for human growth and yung basic needs based on Maslow's hierarchy? Sige nga, anong sagot natin? Letter A, health and safety. Sabi niya, Angelique, letter A. Rachel, letter A. Jason, A. Candy, John, Edward, Jenny. All right, very good. The answer is letter A. No? Health and safety. Okay? Bakit? Kasi si health is here. Health is physiological needs, food, water, sleep. Then si safety is the second, no? Itong second step, no? In the pyramid, right? Safety has to do with your home, shelter, ganyan. Then The next is love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization is the highest. Okay. Student diversity. All right. Depending on the person's dominant intelligence, an individual would have a different concept of what is beautiful. Basing on Howard Gardner's MI theory, which example is considered beautiful by the spatially intelligent users? Computer encoding, case study, landscape, news report. All right, the answer is letter C. Landscape. Kasi spatial, di ba? It has to do with picture, something beauty, arts. Ganyan. Landscape. Computer encoding has to do with ano ba? Programming, mathematical yan. Power of C daw, sabi ni Rowan. So again, don't abuse din sa paggamit ng power of C. You have to analyze first the question, then if hindi pa rin kaya ng brain powers ninyo, dyan na kayo magpa-power C. No idea talaga, dyan na po tayo magpa-power C, power of C. Alright? Case study writing, so writing yan, it can be, verbal linguistic. News reporting, verbal linguistic din yan. Letter C is spatial. Okay? Right. Yeah. Next question. What is the very psychological principle or purpose of employing multicultural instruction? A, achieve high standards. B, develop cognitive skills. C, recognize individual differences. Or D, promote motivation in learning. Multicultural. Okay, so high standards, of course, it doesn't have to do with multicultural. Cognitive skills doesn't have to do. Individual differences po pwede, no? Kasi, right, when you say multicultural, iba-iba yung culture, so you're individually different. Promote motivation, hindi rin swak, no? So pinaka-direct hit, no, bullseye talaga na option is letter C, no? Recognize individual differences. So are you getting the hang of it? No, that is how we analyze board exam questions. We try to see, no, understand the question, and then try to see the option kung saan magma-match, no, saan magiging swak, no? So ganun dapat. Okay, developmental theories. Next question. Erickson has emphasized the importance of developing the child's autonomy, or else the child might develop shame and doubt of themselves. Which of the following situation indicates autonomy in the learning environment? A, students achieve high grades. B, students having high responsibility for own learning. C, students have high bonding or relatedness in school. Letter D, students contribute to warm and friendly school atmosphere. Sabi ni Angelique, letter B daw. Okay. Remember, the keyword here is autonomy. Autonomy is being able to do it on your own, right? That is autonomy, being independent. Okay. So high grades, ano yan? Achieving high grades is competence, and competence is all about ano yan? Yung industry, no? Industry versus inferiority. No? So A is industry versus inferiority. High responsibility for own, responsible for own learning, no? Ito, no? Pwedeng independence yan, autonomy yan. High bonding or relatedness in school, friendship. Oh, hindi yan, wala yan sa kay Erickson. Contribute to warm and friendly school atmosphere, wala din yan kay Erickson, no? So the answer is letter B. No, very good. Okay. So B is 1.5 to 3 years autonomy versus shame and doubt. Okay, next question. Katniss has reached the age wherein, similar to her peers, she tries to know herself more, discover her interest and passion, and so as her sexuality. Based on Erickson's psychosocial theory, what critical stage does Katniss belong? A, infancy. B, early childhood. C, middle-aged childhood. D, adolescence. The answer is letter D, adolescence. Kasi nasa, ano yung clue natin? Sexuality. No? Discover interest and passion. Know yourself more. Yes. No? So, who am I, right? It's one of the questions we ask during the adolescent stage. Identity versus role confusion. No? Erickson din yan, no? Adolescence. Okay? And then we also have this question. In Piaget's cognitive development, when a mother explains to the child that cats, unlike dogs, do not bark, the child is in the process of creating a new cognitive structure. What term did Piaget use to describe the child's cognitive experience? Accommodation, assimilation, equilibrium, and schema. Okay, so I think it was covered already in the previous monthly ayuda. And of course, the answer is accommodation. No? So actually, accommodation, assimilation, and equilibrium are all parts, subcomponents of the schema. Schema is the process of learning. Right? Now, one of the specific process of schema is accommodation. Accommodation happens when you have to create major adjustment, because your current knowledge does not fit. So you have to add new knowledge. When you have to add new knowledge, such like this in the question, so the child doesn't know the difference between cats and dogs. Now here comes the mother explaining that cats do not bark, dogs bark. So adding new knowledge, also editing old knowledge, you call it accommodation. Okay? So the answer is letter A, accommodation. Pero kapag hindi nagkaroon ng addition of new knowledge, yan? Assimilation lang yan. We're able to respond to the situation using your current knowledge. No adjustment at all. Assimilation lang yan. Or little adjustment lang. So again, schemas are building blocks of knowledge. Schematization is the process of learning. Assimilation is when you use your existing schema, current knowledge to deal with the situation, and then little or no adjustment happens. Accommodation happens when you use your existing schema and does not work, and so you need major adjustment. You have to add new knowledge and edit your old knowledge. You call it accommodation. Okay. Joey, 7-year-old girl, knows how to arrange objects or things according to weight, shape, color, or size. Joey, as a young learner, has already developed the concept according to Piaget. Letter D, seriation daw yung sagot. Tama po ba? Very good. The answer is seriation, from the word series, meaning arranging, from shortest to tallest, according to colors, according to size, according to shapes, according to weight, heavy to light. Yan, seriation po. So if you recall, kapag sensory motor stage, di ba, itong cognitive stages, di ba? Sensory motor stage, pre-operational, concrete operational, post-formal operational. So sensory motor stage, ito yung mga major abilities, cognitive abilities. Can explore the world through senses, motor actions, cannot use language, cannot think, lack of object permanence. Pagdating sa pre-operational stage, magiging intuitive. They can learn to play using symbols, learn animism, egocentrism. They lack conservation and centration. Or lack of conservation or centration. When you compare cups, yung experiment on the cups na yung isang, the same baso sila, same amount of water, pero yung isa, you transfer it, you nilipat mo sa kabilang water, sa kabilang baso, bagong baso na ano siya, thin but long. Ayan, Then the child think na even if originally same amount lang, pero the child think na mas marami yung nasa long cup. So ayan, nagkaroon na ng lack of conservation. Hindi na conserve. Nagkaroon ng centration. Bakit centration? Kasi nakatutok lang siya, centered lang siya sa isang aspeto. Isa lang tinitingnan niyang aspect, which is the height. Nag-iba yung height. Mas mataas yung height ng isa. Hindi niya iniisip yung width. Ayan. So, centered na, centration. Tapos meron yung transductive reasoning. Mali-maling paggamit ng inductive at deductive reasoning. Yan yung transductive. Logical, kapag sa concrete operational stage, naging logical na, decentering na, from centering or centration, nagkakaroon na ng decentration or decentering. Magkakaroon na rin ng seriation, reversibility, tapos class inclusion, or able to categorize or classify. Then, formal operational stage, hypothetical deductive reasoning, abstract thinking, separating reality from possibility, combinational logic, and reflective thinking. Ayan, able to do reflection and metacognition. So that's the end po. Thank you so much. Now I'm going